Welcome to Butch's Building Blocks. Let's build something beautiful today. Let's start out with some purple heart, bloodwood, Osage orange, and maple. Let's combine these into a Celtic knot. Here's our plan. We need 6 pieces that are rectangular, 3 1/4 inches by 3/4 of an inch square. We need 10 that have a 45-degree angle on them. These are 3 inches, and again, it's going to be 3/4 by 3/4 stock. We need 10 more with a 45-degree angle. These will be 2 inches, and they will be 3/4 by 3/4 inch stock. In total, our maple will need 28 inches, purple heart 28 inches, bloodwood 15 inches, and Osage orange 15 inches. It's time to start cutting. We're going to cut our center pieces first, which are 3 1/4 inches in length. Since we have 4 pieces of wood, somewhere we have to make doubles. I'm going to make my double out of maple and purple heart, and then just cut one of each of these. I've preset my saw sled stop here, so all my pieces will be 3 1/4 inches. I actually did one test block just to make sure that my distance here was correct. Okay, let's cut our 6 center pieces. We're going to cut our little 2-inch pieces off now. Once again, we're going to need 2 of the Osage orange, 2 bloodwood, and then 4 of the maple and purple heart. This is what you should have. Osage orange, 1 center, and then 2 legs that are going onto it. Bloodwood with its 2 legs that are going onto it. And then 2 purple hearts, 2 maples, 4 of the longer legs, 4 of the shorter legs, 2 maples, 4 of the longer legs, and 4 of the shorter legs. Our next step will be cutting the 45-degree angles on the short leg and the long legs. I've set my angle jig. Be sure that the distance from your block where your blade is cutting is 2 inches. It makes a difference when we go to put this together. I've reset my stop for my 3-inch blocks. Once again, be sure that the distances here are 3 inches because you want to have that long corner at 3 inches so that everything fits together perfectly. Okay, at this stage is what you should have. 2 yellow legs, 2 red legs, 2 purple legs, 4 purple legs, and 4 white legs. Our next step is going to be gluing these together. For this next step, build yourself a nice little 90-degree jig so that you can put these in and then just clamp these together. This is a dry fit of the weave so that you can take a good look at it. The important thing to notice here is that color pattern here. We have the maple with the orange osage. This is the center chunk. Okay. Purple heart with the bloodwood. Orange osage with maple. bloodwood with purple heart, maple with orange osage, and then the purple with the bloodwood on both ends. We're going to end up cutting our piece here. So these are just extender pieces to get us to the end point. And the same up here. We're going to end up cutting it there when it's all done. Okay, I've taken away the periphery just so that you can see the center pieces. Again, in order to get your weave pattern, you need to follow this when you're gluing these legs onto the center bars. Maple to orange osage, purple heart to bloodwood, maple to orange osage, and then bloodwood to purple. It's time we need to start gluing things up. As usual, I'm going to use Tight Bond 3, which I use on all of my projects. I would suggest that you build your weave so that you get all of your colors in the correct sequence, and then take one section off at a time and start your glue up. Now the critical point here is that this piece is on center with that. And in order to do that, we take one of these legs, place it there, put a clamp on it, and then glue this end, put it so that it fits flush right there. Take a second clamp and clamp those down. This distance is the exact distance that we need on both sides. Here's our weave. It's all glued up. And now it's ready for the next phase of process. Depending on the number of weaves that you've done, and I did extras from what the original formula was, I had the wood, so I extended it. We now need to cut this so that it's even. So if we have one yellow, 2, 3, 4, one white, 2, 3, 4 peaks here. So we need to make our cut right there for this end, followed by another cut right there. And that'll give us a nice balance of weaves up and down. Gives us a nice solid purple and rosewood here, purple and rosewood there. Nice solid joint so we don't have to worry about it splitting when we run it through the sander. I built a full epoxy frame for this project. It is 17 1/4 by 10 1/2 with 3/4 inch stock. And that's what it looks like when I put it in. I'll be able to have a couple hold down points when I pour my epoxy to keep this piece from rising. We're going to pour blue epoxy in all of these holes, colors of the Vikings surrounded by the ocean. For my epoxy pour, I'm going to use Super Clear 2.0 liquid glass. Although it's a little less than 2 inches, I think if I used regular epoxy, I'd get too much heat generated just because of the mass. For my dye, I have Black Diamond Iridescent Blue. And there's what the bucket looks like. Got a little sparkle and shine to it, which is what we're looking for. Okay, here's our Celtic Knot. I have it clamped down. Remember that epoxy is a higher density than wood, and if you don't hold this piece down, it will float up. Let's give her a pour and see what she looks like. Now all we have to do is wait for 3 days for all the bubbles to come up and for my epoxy to cure nice and hard. Here's our epoxy pour at about 5 hours in. This is a slow cure, so it'll take about 3 days for it to cure. But you can see that there are still some bubbles cropping up here and there. Easiest way to get to them is just to take a torch. And you can see they just pop and disappear. Our epoxy is nice and hard. Let's see if we can't pop it out of the frame here. Gonna need to get some wooden wedges to pop it. So I made a simple little wooden wedge. It's a lot softer for the epoxy than the steel. Okay, there we go. It's all out. I'm gonna have to sand it down on the drum sander and get it down so that these wood surfaces are exposed. I've run our Celtic Knot through my drum sander at 100 grit. It's come out looking very nicely so far. Now I need to go to 120, 220, 320, and so on till we get a nice shine. We're now up to 500 grit, and we can see some of the opalescence coming through on our epoxy. It's starting to look very nice. We've got a long way to go. We need to get this to 4,000 grit before it'll shine like glass. Here's what it's looking like after we got it to 1,000 grit. Now I'm going to round these corners. I put a little bit of marker on here so I can see each of the corners. I need to do this before I go too far because I know that on my bandsaw I'll probably end up scratching this if I was up to 3,000 or 4,000 grit. Okay, I've rounded my corners, all 4 of them. I've clamped it down. Now it's time to put a 1/4 inch bevel all the way around these edges. Both sides, so it looks nice and smooth and clean. Our edges have been rounded to a 1/4 inch. They look really nice. Blue's been polished to 1,000. The board is starting to take shape. Just have a little bit more work to do on it and we'll be finished with this project. I'm thinking on finishing this board by really making it truly a serving board and putting on these gold handles. I don't think anybody's going to ever want to cut on something that looks this beautiful. I found the center of our serving tray. Our handles are 6 inches on center. So I went from the center back 3 inches on either side. I have tape on the front and the back side to prevent chipping of the epoxy. All 4 of the holes are drilled in nicely. I know the handles fit. I've polished this to 4,000 grit. It has a nice smooth shine to it now. Let's put a little bit of cutting board oil on it. More for the wood than the epoxy. We'll let that soak into the wood for a while, and then we'll actually buff it off of the epoxy because the oil won't stick to that. This is the finished product for our Celtic Knot cutting serving board. I'd hate to think someone would cut on it, but nonetheless, you can see that it's extremely beautiful. The colors all came out perfectly. The blue looks like the ocean. I put a pair of silver handles on it to give it a little bit of contrast. All in all, this is an excellent project. If you like my work, please subscribe to my channel.